Hello children, in this video I am going to explain you second story from your book Echoes, a collection of short stories, and the name of the story is Fritz. The story Fritz, written by Satyajit Ray, is based on supernatural element. The name of the protagonist, chief character, main character of the story is Jayanto, and the narrator of the story is Shankar. Both of them are close friends from their childhood. Now they are adult, grown up, and although they are working in different departments, still they have good friendship. Actually, they were planning to go on a trip from a long time, but due to some social responsibilities and their jobs in different departments, they could not decide a place to visit on. Finally, Jayanto suggested Bundi, which is a place in Rajasthan, to visit on. Here the narrator is somewhat confused as why Jayanto selected Bundi to visit. As there are many other beautiful places in Rajasthan, as Jaipur, Chittor, Jodhpur, then why Jayanto has selected Bundi? Usually what happens whenever anyone decides to visit Rajasthan, he or she usually selects Jaipur, Chittor, Udaipur, Jodhpur. But here Jayanto has selected Bundi. So now go through the chapter to find out why Jayanto selected Bundi to visit. Actually, I want to give you a hint. Jayanto's father, who was working in archaeological department, he was posted in Bundi, and Jayanto had spent some time of his childhood in Bundi, so he decided Bundi to visit on. Actually, to find out that what changes have taken place since then. So he decided Bundi to visit on. Now there is given, I'll give you only the summary, not the complete chapter. The first one there is given in Bundi. It was on the insistence of Jayanto, the protagonist, that his friend Shankar, who is the narrator, agreed to visit a small town in Rajasthan, that is Bundi. Means Jayanto forced Shankar to visit Bundi, not any other place of Rajasthan. According to their visit, they came Bundi, and now they stayed in the circuit house where Jayanto had lived with his family during his childhood. As I have already told you that Jayanto's father was working in archaeological department, and when he was posted in Bundi, that time Jayanto and his family were living in the same circuit house. So after so many days, when he came back in Bundi, he stayed in the same circuit house. He seemed to be fond of the place with which his childhood memories were associated. Actually, he seemed to be fond of. He liked the place where his childhood memories were associated. The fort of Bundi was an attraction for both the friends. Actually, when Jayanto put the suggestion in front of narrator Shankar that he wanted to visit Bundi, Shankar did not deny because of his friend, but he remembered a poem of Rabindranath Tagore whose title was Bundi. Means narrator has already read a poem on Bundi, so narrator also decided that when he would go to Bundi, at least he would be able to see the fort of Bundi, which he had already read in the poem of Rabindranath Tagore. Now, as they stayed in that circuit house, what happens? Childhood memories. After some time, Shankar noticed that Jayanto had turned rather quiet. Means when they reached in the circuit house, stayed in the circuit house, very soon Jayanto became very quiet, became very silent. He seemed to be in low spirits. He was not very enthusiastic. He was not very excited to reach there, though he denied it. Means when he was asked about the reason of his silence, the reason of his quietness, he denied it. Both the friends went for a stroll in the garden after tea. Means they took tea, and after tea both of them they strolled. They had a walk in the garden of the circuit house. Suddenly, while they were walking, means while they were walking in the garden of the circuit house, suddenly what happened? Suddenly Jayanto was reminded of a Devdar tree which he said ought to be there somewhere. May suddenly he remembered about a tree, and the name of the tree was Devdar. When he saw it, he was in jubilant mood, and when he saw the Devdar tree on the same place where he thought the tree might be, Jayanto became very excited, became very happy, and he said, "Yes, it is here exactly where it was before. The tree is here where it was before." After this incident, his memories of the place began to returning one by one quickly. And after seeing that Devdar tree, and after visiting the garden of the circuit house, after seeing many other beautiful and good things of circuit house, his memories of childhood began to come back in his mind. He remembered the name, he remembered that the name of their cook was Dilawar. And suddenly, after some time, Jayanto remembered the name of the cook, which he had when he stayed here in his childhood. His name was Dilawar. When they were here, when his father was posted here and they were living in the circuit house, he could recall where his father used to sit or where his mother used to knit. And he began to recall, he began to remember the places where his father used to sit, where his mother used to knit. So these are the some places which he recalled, which he remembered. Actually, Jayanto remembered one more thing, one more incident which took place in the circuit house. He remembered about his old friend Fritz. Actually, Fritz is the name of a doll. Name of a doll. So Jayanto remembered about the incident which took place, which happened with the doll when he stayed in the circuit house in his childhood. Jayanto recalled everything about a unique doll his uncle had brought for him from Switzerland. Actually, the doll which Jayanto had in his childhood, that doll was gifted to him by his uncle who brought it from Switzerland. And it was not a common doll, it was a very unique doll, a special doll. It was 12-inch long figure of an old man. It was a male doll, you may say Gudda. Male doll, it was a 12-inch long figure of old man. It was very lifelike. And the doll was looking just like a living person, living old man. His uncle told him that the man who sold him the doll told him that the old man was called Fritz. And his uncle who gifted the doll to Jayanto, his uncle told Jayanto that when his uncle bought this doll from Switzerland, the person who sold this doll to his uncle, that person, I mean the seller of the doll, told his uncle that the name of the doll is Fritz, that he must call him by this name. Means that Jayanto and Jayanto's uncle must call the doll by the name Fritz. Jayanto was so enamored of Fritz that he played only with him. And Jayanto liked the doll so much that he used to play with that doll only. One more thing is given there. Actually, Jayanto was the only child in the family. That time, Jayanto was the only child in the family, so he did not have anyone to play with. There was only the doll with which he could play. Though he had a variety of other beautiful toys, but that doll was so fascinated, so attractive for Jayanto. Although in his childhood he had many other toys, but none of the toys attracted Jayanto as much as this doll attracted him. The name of the doll is Fritz. He began to spend hours just talking to the old man. Here, old man means doll. Means he liked the doll so much that he used to spend a lot of time, many hours with that doll, with that old man, even though he did not respond. Means although the doll, as it was a doll did not respond, but still, as a child, Jayanto used to talk with that doll. His parents warned him against playing too much with the doll. Even his parents also did not like that he should spend such a long time, so much time with that doll. His parents did not like it. Now, what happened one day, means one day what happened with the doll, there is given burial of the doll, burial of Fritz. One day, while narrating his story about the doll, means while narrating the story about the doll, Jayanto paused. Means actually, Jayanto is telling everything about his doll to Shankar right now. That when he stayed here in his childhood, he had a doll, and the name of the doll was Fritz. Everything is being told to Shankar by Jayanto now. So while telling about doll, about Fritz to Shankar, Jayanto paused for some time, stopped for some time, and then he resumed his story. And after stopping for some time, he continued his story. Jayanto told his friend Shankar that how one day the doll was torn apart. Means Jayanto told Shankar that what happened one day with that doll, with that Fritz, ruined by a couple of stray dogs. He said to Shankar that one day two stray dogs came and they tore the dogs into two parts. The doll's face was completely disfigured, and the dogs destroyed the doll in such a way that the doll's face was completely disfigured, destroyed, and was beyond recognition. The face of the doll was not able to be recognized. It was beyond recognition. Fritz stopped to exist for him anymore. Now the doll was not anymore for Jayanto that time. Means Jayanto thought that the doll had been destroyed by dogs. The doll was then buried under that Devdar tree. Means now Jayanto is saying to narrator, Shankar, that the same doll, same Fritz, was buried under the Devdar tree, which he finds right now. Means while he was moving in the garden, he stopped for some time under a tree, and the name of the tree was Devdar. And even he said also, what did he say? He said, yes, it is here exactly where it was before. So he is indicating towards the same Devdar tree, and he said to narrator Shankar that the doll was buried under the same Devdar tree. Shankar now realized why Jayanto was serious to find out Devda tree in the garden of the circuit house. Now Shankar came to know that why he mentioned the name of the Devda tree while they were strolling, they were walking in the garden of the circuit house before some time. In the same night which they spent in the circuit house that day, in the same night there happened something unusual, something unexpected, which the narrator and Jayanto had never expected. What happened actually that night? Unusual happening. Both the friends Jayanto and Shankar went to the bed about 10. Means near about 10 p.m., 10 o'clock, after having their dinner, they went to bed. Shankar was the first to sleep. The narrator was the first person who slept. A slight noise woke him little later. While narrator, I mean Shankar, was sleeping, suddenly he heard a noise. He heard a slight noise, and after hearing that noise, he woke up. He saw that Jayanto, with anxiety on his face, was sitting on his bed. And when Shankar woke up, he found that Jayanto was not sleeping. Jayanto was sitting on his bed and his face was full of anxiety. Means there was anxiety, there were worries on his face. Jayanto told him, means when Shankar asked Jayanto, why are you not sleeping? Why are you waking up? Then Jayanto told Shankar that something had walked over his chest. Jayanto told Shankar that something had walked. Means Jayanto told Shankar that he felt that there was any creature and that creature walked on his chest. That had woken him up. And after feeling what feeling? After feeling that some creature, any creature, had walked on his chest, and after knowing this, he woke up. He added that actually that was the second time he had woken up. And he also told Shankar that it is not the first time when I woke up. This is the second time. Means first time he had woken up earlier. This is the second time when he woke up and when he was sitting. That first time he heard a shuffling noise near the window. He also told that first time he heard a shuffling noise near the window, and second time he felt that some creature, any creature, had walked on his chest. After having woken up, he switched on the light, and he also told that when he woke up, after waking up, he switched the light on, but there was nothing to be seen. And he found that there was nothing. Means actually he felt that any creature had walked on his chest. And after feeling this, at once, immediately, he switched the light on, but he found nothing. There was nothing to be seen. Shankar ruled out the possibility of a rat or a cat, since both the doors were bolted from inside. Now the narrator told Jayanto that maybe there might be a there might be a cat or rat, because the doors are locked from inside, bolted from inside, and there is not possibility of any other creature, any other animal to enter. So there might be either a rat or a cat. Jayanto said that whoever came in must be still in the room. Jayanto also told Shankar that definitely there is any creature, and he also suggested that whichever or whoever creature had entered, the same creature still might be in the room, because The doors are bolted from inside, and that creature might not have gone outside. At this, Shankar got up and searched everything to find anything. Means after on the suggestion of Jayanto, Shankar got up and he searched everything. Even he searched attached bathroom to find out anything. But all his search was in vain. All his search was useless because he could not find out anything. He was startled by the alarm in Jayanto's call. Actually, when he was searching, he was moving to search washroom. Suddenly, he heard the cry of Jayanto, the shouting of Jayanto, and after hearing Jayanto's call, Shankar turned back. Shankar directly came to Jayanto. Actually, what happened? Why did Jayanto shout? Why did Jayanto call? Jayanto showed him some tiny brown circular marks on his cover of quilt. Actually, Jayanto was already frightened, and when Shankar was searching something in the washroom or bathroom, Jayanto called Shankar, and Jayanto showed Shankar the small, tiny, circular marks which were on the cover of his quilt. Shankar said that these marks could have been made by a cat. Shankar even said that these marks could have been made by a cat, and he also suggested that perhaps these marks were already made before they had the quilt. Before they had the quilt, these marks were already made, but Jayanto was not agree with the suggestion of Shankar. Now Jayanto's whim, Jayanto's anxiety, Jayanto's worry, Jayanto's forcefully thinking. Jayanto kept quiet. Means for some time Jayanto did not say anything. He kept quiet. Shankar was sure that his friend had a bad dream. Now Shankar was fully confident. He was sure that definitely Jayanto had seen a dream, a fearful dream. He slept soundly. And so, after convincing his friend Jayanto that everything would be okay, there is nothing to worry, and he said to Jayanto to sleep. And after saying this, Shankar himself slept soundly to the rest of the night. In the morning, he could see that Jayanto had not slept well. And in the morning, when he got up, Shankar found out that his friend Jayanto could not sleep throughout the night because his eyes were showing so. They went to see the fort in a car. And as they had already planned, and according to their plan, they went to see the fort in a car. Jayanto's forgotten memories began to coming again. And while Jayanto and Shankar, both of them, were in the fort, even Shankar was busy with a guide to see the fort, and in the same time, Jayanto moved from there and he came on a porch, and he lost in his memory of the last night, in his memory of the night. Which memory of the night? About the incident which took place with him in the night, at the night. So when Shankar found that Jayanto was still lost in thoughts, lost in memories, he came to Jayanto, and he even tried to convince once again. And he said to Jayanto not to think over the last incident, but Jayanto did not follow the advice of Shankar. So, after some time, he was quiet and morose, and now they came back to Circuit House. They came back to Circuit House. While both of them were coming back in the same car to the Circuit House, still Jayanto lost in the thoughts. Jayanto was thinking about the incident which take place at night. On the way back to the town, he started his friend with his revelation. And now, while one more thing is given, while he was coming back in the car, Jayanto told Shankar something more about the incident of the night. Because till now, Jayanto has told Shankar that he felt that any creature had crawled on his chest. Jayanto did not tell the complete thing, all the things in detail to Shankar in the morning. But now, when they are coming back from the fort to the circuit house, on the way, Jayanto told everything in detail about the incident of night. Actually, what was the incident? What were the things which Jayanto told Shankar on the way? Jayanto said to Shankar, Fritz came into our room last night. Means Jayanto told Shankar that Fritz came into our room last night. Those little marks on my quilt were his footprints. Means Jayanto was confident. He said to Shankar, to the narrator, to his friend, that definitely Fritz came last night in the room and the small, tiny, circular footprints which I showed you on the cover of quilt, those footprints were definitely made by Fritz. Those footprints belong to Fritz. Shankar could not help catching hold of him by the shoulders. Shankar could not believe on this, and he caught the shoulder of Jayanto, shaking him. And he shook him, and he tried to bring his friend Jayanto into normalcy. Normalcy means into normal condition. Because by the time Shankar could understand that Jayanto had lost in his old memories and he was thinking only about the past incidents, and even he thought that Jayanto had gone a whimsical person, eccentric person. He thought how an adult person like him could be so obsessed with such an absurd idea. He also said to Jayanto that how an adult person, young person, grown up person, can have such a bad idea, such a worrying idea, such a stupid idea. Back at the circuit house, finally they reached circuit house, and when he came back to the circuit house, he decided to get his friend rid of his fanciful idea. He decided, May Shankar decided that he should try his best to bring out his friend Jayanto from this difficult situation. Means he should bring his friend Jayanto into normal situation, normal condition. He suggested digging the ground under the Devda tree where Fritz was buried several years ago. And means Shankar even suggested Jayanto that he suggested Jayanto that if you think that the doll, Fritz, entered in the room last night, then the doll might be there only. So he suggested Jayanto to dig out the place where the doll, Fritz, was buried several years ago, several years before. And on the advice of Shankar, on the advice of narrator, finally Jayanto agreed to dig out that place, and they found a gardener who could help them in digging out that place. He said that a gardener could be requested to dig out the ground. Means he said to Janto that a gardener could help them to dig out the place. At first, Janto did not accept the suggestion, but later he accepted. Means at first, Janto did not accept the suggestion of Shankar to dig out that place, but finally he agreed to the suggestion of Shankar. Finally, as they have already decided, they tried to dig out the place, and with the help of gardener, they did the same. A human skeleton. Now, what did they find after digging out that place? The gardener was approached and requested for the digging out of the ground under the Devda tree. Means the gardener of the circuit house was approached and he was requested for digging out the ground under the Devda tree. He got ready for the job after some reluctance. Means he was convinced that something would be given to him, and after having the allurement, the gardener agreed to dig out the place. Actually, the gardener thought that there might be any treasure under the Devda tree, so he was requested by these people to dig out. That's why gardener said to the persons, I mean Jayanto and Shankar, that he want to have something for digging out that place. So he was given an allurement. When the gardener started digging, Jayanto became very serious and continued to stare at the site. Means when the gardener was digging out that place, Jayanto was very serious and he was staring. He was continuously watching to the same place, staring at the same place where it was being dug out. Even in the pleasant weather, the collar of his shirt was soaked in sweat, and he was so worried. Means Janto was so worried, so anxious, that although it was a pleasant weather, it was not a hot weather, pleasant weather, but still the collar of his shirt was soaked in sweat. He was perspiring. After some time, his eyes were seen bulging. Means after some time, whatever he saw, his eyes were seen bulging. He was pointing at the hole in the ground. Means he was pointing to the hole, because when the gardener was digging out that place, after digging some place, some depth, there was a hole. And when Jayanto saw the hole, Jayanto indicated towards that particular place that there is a hole, find out what is there. His figure was visibly trembling. And after finding that hole, after looking that hole, the finger of, means his finger was visibly trembling, means the finger of Jayanto was trembling. He was shaking, he was shivering. His voice was hoarse with fear when he said, and whatever he saw there, when he said, his voice was hoarse. Even his voice was also trembling. He was not able to speak properly his words. He said, What is that? See, what is that? Shankar gaped at the ground and was horrified. Even whatever was there, Shankar, who was not able to believe on the story of Jayanto earlier, but whatever they found there, Shankar also was very gapped, means shocked, surprised. Means whatever they found there, Shankar, Jayanto, even that gardener, all of them were very surprised and shocked. Actually, what was there? In the hole, lying flat on its back, a 12-inch long, pure white, perfect like little human skeleton. Means the place where Jayanto had buried his doll, Fritz. In the same place, when they dug out the place, they found a skeleton of a human being. It was really unbelievable. The people who saw that could not believe on their eyes how it could be possible that in place of a doll there might be a skeleton of a human being after so many years. So this is the story of Fritz, and I think it's very interesting story, and you must go through the complete story, and it's very important also, especially for the board classes. And that is the summary of the story. I'll teach you in detail also in the classroom. Once again, you also try to go through the story in your book and workbook both. Thank you.